They can cross the blood-brain barrier. They can cause mental disturbances, mental illness. You know, heavy metal poisoning of the brain is a very, very serious issue. And where we need to be most concerned in Australia are the mining communities. You know, they're absorbing it from the atmosphere, the aluminium, the lead, from the dust and the environmental conditions. Now they're going to fluoridate their water supplies. Can you imagine how toxic that's going to be when you join the fluoride up with all those heavy metals? The mind boggles.
And where does iodine fit in with this?
Now, iodine is an essential halogen, and it has a high atomic weight, so it will easily be knocked out by fluoride, which is a halogen as well, but it's grosser, if you like. So fluoride is like a big sledgehammer that just hits this beautiful fine violin instrument. And when you have fluoride and it binds and knocks out, neutralizes your iodine, then you have really severe problems, because the thyroid is dependent on iodine to make the right thyroxine hormones. And thyroid is important in the whole endocrine system, you know, and it's linked with the pituitary and the hypothalamus, and they all need to work together, and they all have a relationship that depends, funnily enough, on magnesium as well. So magnesium supports the thyroid. It works very well together with the iodine, and that's naturally good health. They're real nutrients. When you have fluoride coming in, it interferes with the natural working of the good nutrients. It kicks out your magnesium, it neutralizes the iodine, and it causes severe health problems, in particular, most notably, in thyroid problems, and that's now epidemic in the female population. And the other thing I found out recently about iodine is that the breast tissue also competes for iodine with the thyroid. And if iodine is in short supply, you'll get lumps or fibrous tissue forming in the breast and also in the uterus. And those lumps eventually can actually lead to breast cancer and other forms of cancer.
Have there been any studies done that you know of?
Yes, there have been iodine studies done, and those practitioners using iodine as part of their health therapy have found when iodine is sufficient in the body, the lumps subside and the breast tissue returns to normal.
Right. I'll just let the viewers know that we're going to post those websites so that they can look into this research for themselves. Australian authorities claim that fluoride is a nutrient. Do you agree?
Absolutely not. That's like saying arsenic is a nutrient. I mean, where do they get that from? Who makes that kind of decision? It's someone's opinion.
Naturally? Is it found naturally in the body?
No, the body will reject and expel fluoride when it has sufficient of the other good nutrients. It's a toxin along with heavy metals and other chemicals the body has to get rid of as fast as it can in order to remain healthy.
But how can these claims then be that if fluoride is touted as being a nutrient and good for the teeth, if the body's trying to kick it out as quickly as possible, how does fluoride help us get strong teeth?
Well, there's a lot of misinformation, and because they detected fluoroapatite in the forming of tooth matrix, they've concluded that that's natural and good. But the fluoroapatite forms in the teeth only in the absence of getting the good minerals such as magnesium. And the fluoroapatite is actually an aberration. It's something that shouldn't happen and shouldn't be there. So everything that we hear in that respect is an assumption. There is no proof and no evidence. Fluoride does not fit the criteria of a nutrient. The body can survive without 1 skerrick of fluoride and be absolutely healthy without fluoride. But you can't say that with magnesium. You would die without magnesium straight away. Magnesium sits in the center of the chlorophyll molecule in plants. That is how important magnesium is. Literally, it is the trunk of the nutritional tree that cofactors and supports the other nutrients, the enzymes, everything in your body depends on magnesium. Fluoride will bind your magnesium and prevent you from uptaking this vital thing for your health. How can you say fluoride is a nutrient when it works against everything that supports health? It doesn't make any sense.
In your view, does this chemical, fluoride, go to the very essential core of our DNA makeup? Does it affect the DNA?
Well, yes, it does, because it interferes with enzyme activity, and the Velcro-like bonds in the DNA lose their linking ability directly as a result of fluoride activity. So in other words, it damages DNA. DNA cannot repair itself. Now, there's a direct relationship with the fluoride and magnesium in this respect, and that low magnesium has the same result as high fluoride, and that the DNA links can't repair, and that leads to cancer. It leads to breakdown and degeneration. It's like you're decaying. Fluoride interferes with cell apoptosis, which, normally you have cells dying and you have new ones replacing them, and that's a normal body process. Magnesium interferes with cell apoptosis and then causes abnormal cell growth, so that the bad cells continue to grow. And if you have high levels of magnesium and take fluoride out of the equation, the DNA has sufficient magnesium to repair itself, giving you a much better health prognosis. It's like your body knows how to be healthy. We have a program. You get a cut. You don't say, now skin, I want you to knit together and I want you to, make it smooth again and make all that disappear. You don't tell the skin what to do. What do? You keep the environment clean, and you make sure you get adequate nutrient, and the body does everything by itself. It heals itself when it has the right environmental conditions. So what we're doing now is we're taking away the right environmental conditions for people to heal when they have injury or breakdown, and the bodies can't heal because there's too much pollution and chemicals and toxins weighing them down. They don't have enough nutrient to rebuild and cleanse, and the combination of those two things is disastrous. It is critical. It could be the downfall of civilization. Can you imagine if it escalated and we went into a growth curve of degenerative disease simply because people were decaying? They were just literally not able to replace their cells and renew and cleanse. That would be the end. And it's quite conceivable that we could actually get there in this generation. We've got the lowest fertility rates ever. Fluoride affects fertility. And as many other toxins do, your plastics and many chemicals out in the environment we're exposed to every day. The cumulative effect of this toxic soup has not been measured, and it's enormous. We have new drugs and chemicals being created every day and released into the environment. The synergy of those things will have an exponential growth curve effect on our health if we don't stop and try and arrest the process of that pollution now. Or we could be passing that damaged DNA onto our children and future generations. That's going to be a really hard problem to fix.
It has been said by other people overseas that fluoride is considered a chemical weapon. Given what you've just stated as possibly being a generation before we are in serious crisis with degenerative diseases and wiping ourselves out, would you say fluoride is a chemical weapon?
Well, it, as a matter of fact, has been used as a chemical weapon in the form of sarin gas, and it's used as a chemical weapon to kill cockroaches. it has been used in chemical weapons since World War II. So what's new?
As a mother yourself, do you believe that Australian parents should be warned, as the American parents have been, not to reconstitute infant formula with fluoridated water? And do you think fluoride is dangerous to small children?
Most certainly, fluoride is highly toxic, in particular for young, fragile, developing immune systems. It is a poison. It interferes with cell growth, enzyme activity, and they have found, many international studies have found that in fluoridated areas, children have a lower IQ, can be up to 15 points lower than in non-fluoridated communities. They then found when they stopped fluoridation some years later, the IQ levels started to go up again. So definitely fluoride has been shown to be a neurotoxin, and that it interferes with intelligence. Now this could also be connected with the iodine issue, as fluoride will nullify the effects of your iodine. Iodine is necessary for brain development and brain growth and intelligence. It is an important detoxer. Iodine helps us to neutralize the effects of mercury that we may inadvertently ingest, and it is essential for many cell processes, and especially the thyroid and the whole endocrine system relies very much on iodine. And magnesium, of course, is also important to support enzyme activity and the thyroid. The iodine and magnesium are two of the most deficient elements in the food supply that the body relies on for so many cellular processes. In other words, these two elements are really important, and yet they're very low already in the food supply. And the more toxins you load into that food supply and in the water, such as fluoride, the more you inhibit the uptake and the use of those really essential nutrients.
Should the Australian government then be warning the Australian parents of the perils of fluoride to little babies?
It's absolutely negligent that they don't have a warning, that people are deceived into believing that fluoride is somehow a nutrient like vitamin C. And what do people do with vitamin C? I'll have an extra tablet and have an extra tablet because it's good for you, more must be better. So people think, if they're told that fluoride is actually a nutrient that's good for you, they could be tempted to let them eat that toothpaste. Well, what harm could it do? Because it's a nutrient, isn't it? This is very dangerous and very negligent. In America, if a child, there is a warning on the toothpaste that if a child swallows a piece the size of a pea of toothpaste, that they should be taken straight away to hospital because it's so toxic. We don't have any such warnings here on our toothpaste. We don't have warnings on the infant formula not to use fluoridated water because and there have been numerous studies, and Dr. Carolyn Thiessen in America has pointed out that once you add fluoridated water to infant formula, it raises the level of fluoride to such a high level, it's in the red zone, is highly toxic for babies. There's no warning on Australian labels. That's negligent.
And I have actually heard from other interviewees that parents have been told to boil their water before they use it for mixing infant formula. That would be a bit of a double whammy, wouldn't it? Because it concentrates the fluoride?
Well, that just shows the level of ignorance of whoever said that, because they couldn't possibly understand the toxicology of fluoride if they think boiling it somehow gets rid of it. It doesn't. It just concentrates it more.